This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. It is Monday, October 14th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, as Turkey presses its invasion of Syria, President Trump orders U.S. troops to pull out of the northern part of the country. Now, a new deal could change the war and perhaps the face of the Middle East. Disagreements among the Democrats as they prepare for their next presidential debate tomorrow night over issues including the economy and what one candidate actually believes about taking away tax exemptions for churches that oppose same-sex marriage. A new version of the Bible designed especially for children to keep their attention in this modern digital age. And a church deacon is being called a hero after he tackles a gunman at a wedding. We've got those stories for you and much more ahead today in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We want to begin this half hour with the fighting in Syria as the U.S. appears to be heading toward a full military withdrawal from that country amid growing chaos and signs that Turkey's invasion could fuel a broader war in the Middle East. President Trump has directed U.S. troops in northern Syria to begin pulling out, quote, as safely and quickly as possible. Critics say the U.S. has betrayed the Kurds by pulling back in the face of Turkey's invasion. And Sunday, the Syrian Democratic Forces struck a deal with the government of President Bashar al-Assad to push back Turkey's invasion. Russia mediated the deal. And as Chris Mitchell now reports from Jerusalem, the move changes the complexion of the war with unseen and perhaps disastrous consequences for the Middle East.
Turkish forces continued their offensive along a wide area of the Turkish-Syrian border. U.S. officials said the scope of the invasion is larger than they were told. The Turkish invasion is spearheaded by jihadist troops called the Free Syrian Army. They've already committed atrocities, including the execution of these Kurdish soldiers seen in this shocking video, and the murder of a prominent Kurdish politician. These jihadists shouted they came to free ISIS prisoners, and hundreds of ISIS supporters have already escaped, including those seen in this video. Some warn the pullout of the U.S. presence will reignite the war against ISIS. All this comes as President Trump ordered the pullout of 1,000 troops from northeast Syria, a move criticized by many of his supporters.
Leaving an ally behind, abandoning people that we frankly told that we were going to be with. Is disheartening, depressing. Frankly, it's weak.
Yet current Defense Secretary Mark Esper said the U.S. wasn't able to stop Turkey.
Turkey committed this action. They decided to make an incursion in northern Syria, despite our protestations, our urgings not to do it.
But many accuse the president of abandoning the U.S.'s #1 ally in the battle against ISIS. The SDF says since the U.S. wouldn't stand with them, they had no choice but to turn to Syrian President Bashar Assad and Russia. Syrian troops are already on their way to the strategic town of Kobani. Syrians celebrated this new alliance, but for the SDF, it was a bitter pill. Yet their choice was either Turkish genocide or submit to an authoritarian government. It also means Syria's ally, Iran, is waiting in the wings to come in. In the meantime, the fighting has left hundreds of thousands of people displaced. This woman said, I have 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. Where should I go? Where can I go to escape the shelling? Just tell me, Europeans and Arabs, just tell me where to go with my children.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, exactly who are the Syrian Democratic Forces and what are the consequences of their alliance with the Assad regime?
Well, first of all, Ephraim, the Syrian Democratic Forces is a combination of 5 separate military organizations, the main one being the YPG, a Kurdish group, but there's also many others. For example, when we were there earlier this year, we met with an Arab commander, we met with a Christian spokesman for the SDF. So it's really a combination reflective of the ethnic diversity there in northeast Syria. This is the military arm of a government called SANS. SANES, which is the self-administration of northeast Syria. Over the past several years, as we've reported, this is really a democratic representative form of government that has been established. As somebody has called it, really a tree of liberty there in the middle of the Middle East. However, as your second question, what are the consequences? Well, the consequences right now, it looks like this new government, this Tree of Liberty, is not going to be able to survive. They had to make a choice. The SDF said, well, rather than have a Turkish genocide, have these forces come in and literally have ethnic cleansing throughout this region, we'd rather submit to the Assad regime and to the Russians. Now, also the major consequence of this, it's a victory for the Syrian President Assad. He comes in and really takes back this land of Syria. It's a huge victory for the Russians. Their influence is expanding, and what many people haven't reported, it's a huge victory for Iran, because that is an ally of the Assad regime and the Russians. They're waiting in the wings to come in.
So, Chris, what could this mean for the Turkish invasion?
Well, we're really in uncharted waters right now, Ephraim. You know, the Syrian regime, as we reported, Syrian troops are on their way to Kobani. This is right on the Turkish border. Does this mean that the Turks and the Syrian army are actually going to be fighting each other? What does this mean for the Russians? Might they set up sort of some no-fly zone over the Turkish-Syrian border? So it certainly means that Erdogan needs to rethink his calculations right now and his invasion. Does this mean he wants to confront Syrian President Bashar Assad, the Russians, maybe the Iranians? He's really fighting a battle here on two fronts. He's first trying to get into this Syrian issue, but he's also fighting on the political side. The European Union has come out against him. The Saudi Arabian government has come out against him. So I think they're rethinking things right now in Ankara.
What could be the fallout to the United States and the Middle East?
Ephraim, I think the fallout for the U.S. could be disastrous. You know, there's a scene in the movie Gettysburg. General Buford, just before the whole battle starts, he comes in outside the town of Gettysburg, and he takes the high ground. And I really think that right now it's like the U.S. has given up the high ground. They had it for several years. They had the opportunity to be with this new government. They were really a bulwark against Iran's expansion, Turkish invasion, and the aspirations of the Assad regime. So right now, I think the U.S. presence in the Middle East has been declining, and I think all these other enemies and our adversaries is rising up right now. So I think it's the consequences as well can continue to go on, because the people that have been looking to the U.S. presence, the U.S. word that they could rely on, are going to be looking other places. I've heard that the Kurdish regional government, which is in Iraq, is now maybe flipping, as it were, by going to the Iranian sphere of influence. So the consequences for the U.S., I don't think, are very, very good at all.
Let's turn now to Israel, where you are. How could this affect Israel?
Well, Israel's looking in this very sober-minded. They understand that the Iranian influence is expanding right now. They have a goal of expanding their influence all the way from Tehran to the Mediterranean. Israel has been trying to push back on that influence by attacks inside Syria. So right now, I think they are expecting a whole reanalysis of what's happening in the Middle East. The Middle East really is being changed as we speak right now, and it doesn't bode well for Israel because it increases the influence of Iran, their #1 enemy.
All right, I'm Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell reporting from Jerusalem. Thank you so much, Chris. While Turkey is advancing in Syria, the church in Turkey is facing increasing pressure from the government. Pastor Andrew Brunson spent 2 years in prison and under house arrest in Turkey, accused of being a terrorist by the Erdogan government. He told the U.S. Commission for International Religious Freedom the same tactic is being used against other foreign Christians, and Turkish leaders fear they could be next.
Another Turkish church leader wrote to me a few days ago. He said, some Turkish Christians have started to ask, after the foreigners are sent away, what will the government do to us? And this is a good question. According to some Turkish leaders, there is, I quote, an expectation of an action from the government against Turkish church leaders. Arrest, investigations, we don't know. So I think the accelerated deportation of church leaders is a sign of very dark times to come. Turkey is not there yet, but it is careening in the wrong direction.
Turkey's church is very small. There are about 6,000 Muslim background believers in the nation of 80 million people. Still ahead, disagreement among the Democrats as they prepare for their next debate tomorrow night in Ohio over everything from the economy to what one candidate believes about tax exemptions being revoked for churches if they oppose same-sex marriage. We're going to take a look at those questions when we come back.
Give me that. Bye. Sure, life is busy, but I found a way to make a huge difference in people's lives. I guess you could say I'm changing the world right here from home. I bring medical supplies and doctors to people in need, and dig wells so that villagers can have clean and safe water to drink. I make it possible to preach the gospel in over 100 countries, including right here in America. And when disaster strikes, I'm there, providing food, thank you, and emergency supplies to give people hope again. Every day, CBN and I are making the world a better place. Here you go. My life is hectic, so I joined CBN through Pledge Express. My bank does all the work, and I know that my gift is being used where it's needed most. So become a CBN partner and join Pledge Express, because you can do a world of good right from where you are. Hi, good morning. Are you ready to get started?
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
With Democrats getting ready for tomorrow night's debate in Ohio, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren has closed the gap with former Vice President Joe Biden in the Democratic race for the presidential nomination, even taking the lead in some polls. And she's proposing a wide variety of new taxes, including one called a wealth tax, where people with a net worth of $50 million or more would pay 2% tax every year on their total net worth. But all of Warren's plans for new government agencies aren't enough for another contender, Democrat Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont.
But there are differences between Elizabeth and myself. Elizabeth, I think, as you know, has said that she is a capitalist through her bones. I'm not. I am, I believe, the only candidate who's going to say to the ruling class of this country, the corporate elite, enough with your greed and with your corruption. We need real change in this country.
And with Warren now basically tied with Biden in the Real Clear Politics average of major polls and Sanders recovering from a heart attack, the Democratic presidential race may come down to just a few candidates. CBN's Jenna Browder brings us this look at the Democratic presidential race and how Warren's strategy has helped her gain ground on Biden.
That rallying cry helping energize this Democrat surging campaign.
Pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it in America.
And with the Massachusetts senator winning 3 out of 4 recent polls, moderate voters are taking her 2 cents seriously.
She's kind of been trying to be the tortoise in the race.
On Faith Nation, Inside Elections editor Nathan Gonzalez said Warren's slow and steady strategy is working.
It's still complicated as long as Bernie Sanders is in the race. It's complicated for her to overtake Vice President Biden, but we have a long way to go.
Bernie Sanders has an even more aggressive tax on extreme wealth. Both are favorites among liberal voters.
I just got out of the hospital a few hours ago, and I'm feeling so much better.
Days after suffering a heart attack, the 78-year-old plans to slow his campaign and is releasing a plan to ban corporate money from politics.
Let's break them up.
Warren wants to break up big tech giants she says violate antitrust laws.
Wall Street did not build America.
Wall Street is a familiar punching bag for the candidates, and Joe Biden's perch at the top of the field relies on his appeal to blue-collar Democrats. The former VP, facing some far-left plans like Medicare for All, wants to eliminate President Trump's tax cuts.
I believe there was tremendous corruption with Biden.
Hearing his name mentioned almost daily because of the impeachment inquiry into a presidential phone call isn't helping.
This guy, like all bullies, is a coward. He does not want to run against me.
Biden calls Mr. Trump's pay-to-play allegations in Ukraine unfounded.
This is not about me. It's not about my son.
Democrats in the bottom tier of the race are taking advantage of Biden's Ukraine problem while still keeping their fire trained on the president.
What we've got here is a walk-in indictment, walking in a red tie.
Beyond Biden's Ukraine problem is a drop in third-quarter fundraising. Right now, Sanders and Warren are pulling in the biggest piles of cash at around $25 million. Biden's $15 million draw puts him in fourth place behind Pete Buttigieg. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Although Senator Warren's plan for a 2% wealth tax, which she calls 2 cents, is popular with the left wing of the Democratic Party, many experts doubt if it's constitutional or would survive a court challenge, while others across the political spectrum have pointed out similar taxes have failed in several other countries. Another possible bone of contention at tomorrow's Democratic debate in Ohio, a statement by candidate Beto ORourke at a CNN special Democratic town hall last week on LGBTQ issues, after he was asked if he thought religious institutions like colleges, churches, and charities should lose their tax-exempt status if they oppose same-sex marriage. Here's his answer.
Yes. There can be no reward, no benefit, no tax break for anyone or any institution, any organization in America that denies the full human rights and the full civil rights of every single one of us.
O'Rourke's reply quickly drew negative reactions from both conservatives and liberals, even fellow candidate Pete Buttigieg, who is gay himself. The O'Rourke campaign emailed the online magazine Slate with their response saying, quote, he would support revoking the tax-exempt status for a religious institution that fired an employee or refused to hire someone because they were in a same-sex marriage. He would not, however, revoke tax-exempt status for a religious organization he simply disagrees with. We will have more about this important issue on the afternoon edition of CBN NewsWatch here on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, a new version of the Bible specifically for children, as well as a show for you. It is designed to capture children's attention in the digital age. Stay with us.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religion he has, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
There are plenty of different versions of the Bible to choose from, but a new one for children is unique and presented in an unusual way. As Mark Martin reports, it is designed to capture their attention in the digital age with the greatest stories ever told.
But God did a miracle. He protected Daniel's friends from the fire. Not one of them was burned. So it was like worse than being in a fireplace.
Brianna Jimenez is reading the Action Storybook Bible to students at this after-school program in Richmond, Virginia. It contains Bible stories and is designed like a graphic novel. The creation story is the favorite of fourth grader Kimberly Rodriguez.
Because it shows how God made things, but he just spoke and then they appeared.
Even as a young third grader, Didier Madrid believes reading the Bible has changed his life for the good.
I used to say a lot of bad words and stuff with my friends. We used to do bad stuff, like breaking to people's houses and stuff. And then after I started reading the Bible, I didn't do that no more.
Hi, my name is Hannah Salisbury, and I'm an elementary teacher in Virginia in a public school.
Public school teacher Hannah Salisbury says God put it on her heart to donate the Action Storybook Bible to school libraries. Her mission also includes getting the Bible in classrooms and after-school programs.
I started to prayer walk around our school, and as I would pass every window in our school, I would pray for my coworkers by name, and I would pray for the students that entered the building. And there was one particular day that I prayed that Jesus' name would be mentioned in the classrooms and hallways of our school. And little did I know that prayer got answered in bigger ways than I could have imagined.
One bigger way came in April when Salisbury launched the nonprofit organization Bibles in Schools.
God really opened my eyes to realize if we have this old Bible in our school, how come we don't have a more engaging Bible that's fun and that has pictures in it?
The movement has now spread to 18 counties in Virginia and 7 states. Since people started donating the Bibles, Salisbury says around 125 students have checked them out from their libraries. You might be asking yourself, is a Bible even allowed on the shelves of a public school library? Or am I even allowed to donate a Bible to a public school? On her website, Salisbury urges you to know your rights and then to use them.
Anybody can donate anything to their library at school. It is, if they take other donations, then they have to accept the Bible donation, but the librarian does not have to put it on their shelf. So that's where prayer really comes in. As teachers, if you have other literature on your school shelves, you can have the Bible on your shelf.
Art teacher Chelsea Joyner believes God woke her up early one morning and planted the idea to put a Bible in her classroom.
I just, 3 a.m., I can't even explain it. You need to put one of these on your bookshelf. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
The Action Bible is also available in versions for middle and high school, which means Levi will be able to stay in the Word through graduation.
Why do you like this Bible?
Because I like to learn about God.
Why do you like to learn about God?
Because He's the best and good. I like the part like He died on a cross and take our sin and come back alive.
Mark Martin, CBN News, Richmond, Virginia.
Up next, a church deacon goes above and beyond serving at his church when a gunman crashes a wedding. The story of the hero deacon when we come back.
Wouldn't it be great if you could just hop on a plane and fly to a third world country and hand out food and medicine to the needy? And wouldn't it be great if some of those people came to know Jesus as their Savior because of your help? And wouldn't it be great if you could help out people like this all around the world every day? Wouldn't that make you feel great? And what if you could do all of this without having to leave your home or write monthly checks? Well, you can. Partner with CBN and you can help spread the gospel all around the world and make it a better place. And when you sign up for Pledge Express, your contribution will be deducted from your bank account every month automatically. It's a safe and simple way to make a difference. Plus, wouldn't it be great to get life-changing teachings every month from Pat and Gordon? When you sign up for Pledge Express, you'll save time and money, and you won't just sit around and watch the world go by. You'll help change it for the glory of God. Now, wouldn't that be great?
When you care, souls are set free. When you give, lives are made new. When you share, eternal life begins. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
A church deacon is being hailed a hero after he tackles a gunman at a wedding. It happened at the New England Pentecostal Church in Pelham, New Hampshire. Othniel Archer was in the balcony running the soundboard at the wedding, and he noticed a man coming in wearing a hoodie. What he didn't know at the time was the hooded man, according to some reports, had a relative who was shot and killed by a relative of the groom, which is likely why he approached the altar and began shooting.
Everybody started to run when they heard the shots and when the shots started, and then he said, I need to get out of here, but then he stopped and said, no, I can't leave, and he went back and tackled the guy.
Othniel Archer's son says his dad is just the kind of guy who helps others no matter what. Well, time now for your Monday motivation. I leave you with this thought today as we begin another work week. In the busyness of climbing the ladder of success, be careful your ladder is not leaning against the wrong building. Think on that for a moment and be sure that you are working on purpose, in purpose, and for His purpose. With that word, make today a marvelous Monday. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can watch our programs anytime online at cbnnews.com or on the CBN News Channel. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. That address is newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Make it a marvelous Monday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.